It's like that is a fair point, but I cannot concede that.
So I'll probably be unfair. All right. So what have we
Yeah,
got?
so the trouble with the retrieval mechanism um, is that in in that lens concept, we would be feeding the direct record in to be processed. We would not be relying on the retrieval system because the retrieval system is very approximate and not at all well suited to
So if I were
exhaustive
to
results.
cut and paste, I actually did two. I did curtains as well. I did a bit more. I was a bit fairer on curtains. I gave it some idea about, you know,
Yeah, so
what was what.
the closest, because the AI would be processing each it would be processing each record in context, not via retrievals, because retrievals makes arbitrary decisions about where to put chunk lines, and also limits the number
Okay.
of things that come back. Whereas
Yeah.
the difference with the lensing mechanism is that the lensing mechanism is designed to loop over arbitrarily many records, and the reason
Uh-huh.
why I called it lensing is that in functional programming, there's a series of sort of primitives like lensing that you can say some sort of quite interesting things about, because you can say that if a function is pure, then you can run it concurrently with as
Mm-hmm.
many instances as your tin allows you to do. And so
Mm-hmm.
the each of the records would be included in the AI context, and
Mm-hmm.
it would not be these partial and limited retrievals from the document retrieval system.
All right. So this I got better. I really want to know more about that in a sec. But the curtains data came back with better results
Right.
because with the hair color thing, I gave no instructions whatsoever.
Right. Did you include
Um,
this is the sys prompt, this whole thing?
no, this is the retrieval.
Oh, okay.
So what it said was, on the sys prompt, you're here to answer questions on the two data files, nothing else.
That's
And
rude.
then I gave it, it's quite rude. And then it gave it information about curtains.
Yep.
Here's what curtain is, etc., etc. Um,
All right. So
here's a couple of
how did it
examples.
how did it go? You should
Well, I'll
you
show
should
it to
dump this whole
you.
file into the instructions.
Well, let's try that actually.
You should turn off retrieval completely, and you should dump those files straight into the instructions.
Well, let's try it with one.
Okay.
See what happens. I'll add it to the end. No, because I'm talking about two data files, so I'll confuse it. Ah, okay.
What did it say?
No, I hit a limit.
What limit? Oh, is
Um,
there a limit to the
the,
size of the instructions?
oh, I hit that all the time.
What what is the
I'll show
limit?
you. Oh, 1 second.
Oh, Omega.
That's wrong. And there you go. That's the error.
32K. That's not right. Bugger. Okay,
Was
what
this my
about
playground? Might be a playground thing.
no, it's not. I think it is actually genuine. So why don't you, instead of pasting it as instructions, paste it in the user message. The user message should have 128K.
All right. So if I take out this, which is all prompting. Uh, okay, I'll just kick off.
Hi.
Okay. And then there's a lot of data.
Okay. Well, that's annoying.
Yeah,
Oh, well, why don't you just cut it in half until it fits? Because you'll still prove your point.
yeah.
This
There's only 1,000 lines there. I'll go to 500 or ish.
these are not really distinguishable, are they? You could probably fit that in the sys prompt if you're gonna.
Oh, I could do that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Nope.
Still too many.
Cancel run. Clear. Try that again. Maybe it's because they're trying to do something else. Nope. Try fewer. Well, it's doing only 100.
These rows are not necessarily distinct, are they?
Well, distinct by having a new line character. And I've told it what a row looks like.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
work it
Okay. That's
out. Sunshine, come on.
quite rude.
You're meant to be a fucking AI. If you need to learn this sort of shit.
It's artificial intelligence, not artificial genius. I mean,
Okay.
okay, cool.
Let's see what it says. Right. Okay, let's see if it gives
Okay,
us. How.
hog.
Typing with a headset on shit. I should just trust the VR. How many of the fields? Velvet. Curtains are in stock.
Oh, really? Oh, that's a great query. How many velvet curtains are in stock? Okay. Is that correct?
That is, we can figure that one out. So, what row did it take to 100? No, it didn't. It was.
You don't even know.
It's 50 down. 50 down. 50. 50. Oh, shit, this might take a while. That's. Where's Velvet?
Did you lose your velvet curtains, my friend?
Oh, if I had a pound for every time I've lost the velvet curtains.
Wow. Material?
Yeah, probably. I'm just getting rid of everything.
Played. Yes.
Why is that not?
You lost your curtains, didn't you?
Oh fuck! I'm just gonna get rid of the filtering.
You completely lost your curtains.
Yeah. Okay. What was it? It's 100, wasn't it? And it was velvet. I'm learning a scary bunch about fucking curtains. Okay. And what did it say? What is it? It said there's 20.
Oh no, you said
Not about
in
it.
stock. So which ones are not in stock? I think it may still be right.
How?
Well, because
Oh, actually, 4, 12, 22, 25, 35. No, it's not right. It's truncating again.
well, are you sure that it truncated?
Yeah, so it said that there's 28 velvet in stock. Okay?
Yeah.
So go back to the source. Not the curly source, the source.
How can a curtain have a gender?
Doesn't have a gender. It's two different data sets, man. I was trying to confuse it.
Oh,
I was trying to confuse it.
okay. Well, I think you might have done that. Um,
uh, so that's. I mean, what is that?
Sum is
Um,
47. It says it's 47. You already. It does auto sum for you.
oh, there's. Oh, yeah. Oh, fuck.
What?
Stupid fucking arse.
What did you do?
Look,
What do you mean?
got a rand. Every time you do anything, it'll change it. Fuck.
That's,
Stupid fucking
yeah. Okay.
twat of a Scotsman.
But hang on.
Right.
Did you randomize the velvet property?
No, that's the only
Okay.
thing I've randomized. I can get rid of that, but let's because there's only a few there. So what we're looking for, we're just looking for velvets in the top 100 or so. Okay, right. So let's just do it old style. Right, that is 9. That is 7, so 16. That is 24.
Hmm,
28.
5.
It might be right. Oh, shit, you might have got the right answer. What answer was it? 28. It was 28. Fuck me, sideways with a bar spool. Got the right answer.
No.
Okay. No,
No. Wait.
we did. Because we only did the first 100.
Okay. Well, that's pretty good.
Let's try this again. So, we did the first 100, right?
Yeah.
So, 9.
Are you? How do you know it was 100? Was it line 100 or was it 100 rows?
It's line 100.
Line 100 doesn't take you very far.
No.
Yeah.
Well, let's try again. Let's do it a bit more properly. Okay, so
More proper. Okay.
more proper. Okay, so line 100. I think it was right actually.
Hmm.
Okay. I think what it's doing. That's why it was embarrassed. I think we got it out. I think it does truncate.
What do you mean it does truncate?
Well, the hair one had 7,000 lines, and then I went, "What about, you know, Bessie?" I think it
Yeah,
was.
well, retrieval never gives you the full thing. It just gives you the top 10 results. It's not a database tool at all. It's a context providing tool.
Hold on, it's asking me how many curtains, yellow curtains in stock. Is it? What?
Well, because you ran it with no, you didn't tell it
I
what you
cleared it.
wanted.
No, I cleared it. I cleared it. Right. Okay. Try again. Yeah. Okay. Uh huh. Right. I am certain it's truncating. It's cutting corners, which would make sense.
No, it's not truncating here. I'll bet you.
Okay.
Do you want to have a bet
Right.
on whether it gives his query correctly?
No, no, nah, because we've only got 100. If we put 1,000 in, I'll give you one Scots pounds that it gives the wrong question.
Nine seven
Try.
eight 9784. Okay.
That's right, okay. So back to our thing. So we got 9,
9 7.
7, 8, 8, yep, 4. Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Well, that's correct.
Let's load it up with more curtains data.
Still gonna be right, dude.
So it's going to start hallucinating and just
If
saying,
you can,
can't be arsed.
no, if you can fit it in the sysprompt, I bet you £1 that it'll get it right.
One good Scots pound. All right, you're on.
No,
You're on
not a
that.
good one. Just a pound.
That's a shitty one. A shitty one. Okay, we're up to line 50. Let's make it around 500. Fuck. Right, so that's 450 entries. Okay.
Okie doke.
Go to this. Yep. Okay.
Oh no.
See, we see.
Yeah, but see, this would not be a problem if you were using lensing because you could walk in manageable chunks. You wouldn't need.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you, but there's a pound on the line here, so it's serious.
Um,
I'm gonna walk back and try 400. The interesting thing is, oh, actually no, didn't I delete? Interesting thing is, it doesn't need much prompting whatsoever when you're presenting any kind of structured data. I haven't told it much at all. So,
wait, that number is special. That 32. That's a different kind of a number. That's
what is it?
characters.
768.
That's not tokens. So
Yeah,
you're actually
yeah,
unable to
768.
call
You're
the
right.
full value of the like that's just 32,000 characters and you just gave it 51,000. So but that's not even close to the token limit.
Hmm.
That's just an issue with the way that the web interface is structured.
Right, right. You're probably right.
Yeah. So if I made you a little API for this, you could hit that limit even more, but I think what's important to note here is that first of all, these are tasks that can be done with, say, 3.5 Turbo because they're very trivial tasks. Second of all, you
Yeah,
can call it massively in parallel because, who even cares? So,
yeah. I think that's a good point. I just always, sorry, I just always go in max. Um, just to try and get anything out of it.
yeah, you need to, if you go back to your text editor,
Uh-huh.
see down the
Yeah.
bottom where it shows you how many characters you've got there.
No, I don't see that.
Uh,
24 matches,
click out.
type
Just
size.
deselect or get out of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Get rid of that shitty bar down the bottom. There. Now, if you select it all,
Mm-hmm.
down the bottom left, 53k,
And what was it saying? It's saying 36 something.
32k, 32k. But that's just the way that they've chosen to submit the parameters in the API request. That's got nothing to do with tokens.
Yeah, right. Okay.
But sort of the point is, it doesn't even matter because lensing would submit many rows in parallel in little tiny chunks so that you could get your result back rapidly. You'd want to make it run sort of like MapReduce, where it's sort of like
Uh-huh.
walking over large arrays of data and then reducing it down to a smaller number of outputs for you.
Yeah. And then some kind of um, uh, bot that says you don't need 4 for this. You could do 3.5.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And so,
Yeah.
because a lot of this record querying, the intelligence is figuring out what was the query. Running the query is not an intelligent thing.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing was, now the numbers are wrong because it's truncating, right? Because that's what we've been talking about.
Right.
Let me take you back to where we were. Where was the original? How far did this undo? It didn't undo at all. Okay. Okay. I thought I was undoing this one.
It should be.
Yeah. I've not.
Not
Oh, I've saved it. I've
not
saved
for you though.
it. I was getting quite good results with retrieval. Actually, no, I don't need to talk about retrieval. Give it a
Retrieval
word for
sucks. Retrieval actually really sucks, especially for what you're trying to do here as well.
yeah, yeah. But the bottom line was with uh, the sys prompt
Mm.
at the top of the file,
Mm.
it got help. Without that, it was so. Let me rewind. Going from a blank sheet of paper
Yep.
to a dump of data, it was all over the place. It just no fucking idea. But if I give it a really bare bones idea of what I was talking about, what a
Right.
material was,
Right.
what length meant, and so on, then
Right.
suddenly it got a lot better, a lot faster. I mean, we're talking about going
Right.
from
So it needs
usage to
to. So the records need to have some documentation with them, right? Like
yeah,
some
it's neat,
annotations.
or a dictionary at very least. Um,
Right.
you know, the big leap was when I wrote that definitions field in. After that, it was yeah, okay,
Yeah.
it's
Right.
a little bit
Yeah.
better.
Right.
But when I
Yeah.
put definitions in, it went, oh, that's what you mean by len.
Right. Because if you were back in 1602 and you just gave someone the keys to the accounting room without these
Yeah,
annotations, sorry, without these definitions, they'd be lost as well, right?
right. It's like texture. Texture of what? Do you want me
Yeah.
to go up to some kind of boat and rub it?
Right.
Doesn't know.
Right.
So
Right.
the very least you need is the definitions.
Right.
But there's a big
That
leap.
that seems reasonable. I mean, that's better than a schema. Is tell
Yeah.
me about this thing. Like tell
It's a
me.
hell of a lot, isn't it? And also it probably helps in yeah, if you're moving your data across, it's like, what do you mean by
Right. And so
starting?
you could do a pass through that was like purposely designed to like a pipeline that was designed to figure out what definitions you're missing because you're like, here's all these records, and you're like, ask me what you
Oh
don't
yeah.
know, and then it's like,
Oh
oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
oh
Is
yeah,
that I found this term in the database.
right, and then
What do
it's
you
like,
mean about
give me five options,
pinatas?
give me
Yeah,
five options for what lining means.
right. But that seems super important. That part. Um, Second only to your overall intent. It's like here's what we're trying to do. That is, I think, one of the most important things to do. The functions, data examples, prompt response examples, there
Okay,
are diminishing returns from those.
all right. Well, that man, that seems god almightily simpler.
Seems reasonable, doesn't it? Because if you're going to ask a human to do this, You say, right, I've got a pile of jube
A
tubes. I
human
want
would
you to
need
sort
that.
them into WYSIWYGs.
A human would need that. A human would need.
Yeah.
A human might not even really need that, but
No, that didn't seem to do much.
no,
That was a bit.
because I wouldn't need that.
So I wrote this top to bottom and tried it, ran it each time.
Yeah,
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 that was still shit.
yeah,
Still
yeah.
shit. Boom.
Right. So
Quite good.
there's
Quite good.
some sort of a process to go through, like you know, back check what definitions we're missing. So
Yeah.
you can't just start it with nothing, but there is some very simple process that can be used to generate a functional database out of these collections of documents.
I think I think probably if you had enough bandwidth to actually load all the data, you give it definitions.
Which
You
you
wouldn't
do,
even have to give it the schema. You wouldn't have to say how it was structured.
which you do, because I'll bet that even that Beluga 7B would work, right? So if you could run
Mhm.
these on just local GPUs, then these queries aren't really that expensive.
Yeah, they're not hard. Basically, we're saying here's here's what we mean, and here's what we have in data,
Yeah,
and then it really comes down to parsing the prompt. The bot goes and says, okay, when you're saying how many uh, brown curtains do we have in stock? He goes,
right.
material we know about. Well, color we know about. Um, it doesn't even need to know that brown. You don't need to list what curtain is,
Yeah,
color of the curtain, because it knows what color is. So it's like
yeah,
brown is a
right.
color,
It's got a lot
color
of
is
general
part of
knowledge.
it,
It's got a lot
and
of general
then
knowledge.
yeah, and then okay, so you've got number in stock, and so you've asked me to count up the number of brown widgets that we have in stock. That seems really quite straightforward.
Right, and then using these, you remember how websites used to have a sitemap?
Yeah,
If you
well,
could,
they
if
still do, but they won't
if you
for
could
much
attach your
longer.
definitions to something that looked like a sitemap, then when you
Yeah.
start to talk about things like, I want you to place an order with Guangzhou Group for 55,000 of these things, it's like, well, fuck, I don't know what he means. But then using that sitemap, that would be the place to use retrievals to figure out within this tree where the right place to start is.
It would, wouldn't it?
Because the data, you don't want to be searching all the data. You want to be searching the definitions or the sitemap or the descriptions.
Well, the definition seems to cut down or improves performance, but cuts down what it needs to consider.
That's probably 90% of the performance right there, is that
Yeah,
list of 8 points.
it would be fascinating, but probably quite time consuming to try and write a sys prompt in Mandarin where we don't know anything about anything. Um, this because that's where thinking about it from the AI bots side, it doesn't know anything about anything. Okay, so you have to tell it. So I've got 8 things that I've suddenly poked into existence, and I've said, don't think about anything else. This is all you know. So constrained it. 8 things, and then the data only refers to these 8 things, and it was doing quite well. The only reason it was barking out is because I went overboard with the number of actual entries. Um, but with lensing, we can get rid of that. But the definitions. It'd be great to run some metrics on how different the performance is on definitions. It was huge and perceptible. Functions seem to be, yeah, but the results were better, but I don't know if it's faster. Examples, I didn't give them many examples. I think it worked out because the data was so repetitive. Like, you don't need to give me an example, mate. You know,
Yeah.
you just give me 7,000
I
lines
think
of the same
that
stuff.
these examples are good. I think you could ditch
Mhm.
everything else except for the list of definitions, and I think you'd find that it'll perform unperceptibly well. Like,
And I think on a simpler model as well, or cheaper model.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
it was
So how
it
do
was
we
an interesting
incorporate this?
experiment.
How do we incorporate that? Because each section that you've got here requires some kind of back end wiring to sort of cause a loop that runs that makes sure the definitions are current and are of some certain standard, right? Because you can't just expect that to keep its quality,
Yes, and you
right?
can't allow that to be altered.
No, and you sort of need it auto generated because that is the part of programming that humans are bad at, which is to say, describe the schema. Imagine you don't know this topic and now explain it to me. Like humans can't do that. So,
Is that a bit of the commissioner then? Maybe a commissioner, you throw a wad of data at it,
right.
and the commissioner says, I've found what I think are a bunch of
Yeah.
nouns.
Well, okay, so
What's material? I think material is this, am I right? Kind of thing.
correct. So you'd be going through an ingestion phase where you'd dump a whole bunch of data in it and you'd use lensing to say, I want you to go through and build up a pseudo schema where you're like, the data could be have similarities or not. It could be multiple different types of
With
data.
gaps and all sorts, yeah.
It could
Because
be horrific, right?
yeah, yeah.
But
Oh, that's the
you'd build up a
£1,000 a
bunch
day
of
guys. Yeah.
pseudo schemas, and then you'd run lensing to sort of check mechanically that each entry matched the schema that it had been assigned to, and if not, you'd just redo it until it all passed. You'd highlight to the human what the anomalies were, and
Hmm.
then you'd create one record per thing. So one,
Oh, these are not. These are assertions. Remember.
yeah,
Um,
but you need this row is an assertion. You're saying, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So why I need that to be an object is because I need to work on it in isolation. I can't have it in a big blob like this.
okay. Can I run past you something because I didn't get to this because I was. But what I was looking to do next. Oh no, bother going up. Right. Kobe is a boy with brown hair, which is spiky. What I was going to do next, if I got good performance out, was to then put an assertion. Yeah, shit. Can't see my keyboard. Oh, for fuck's sake. All right, Velvet. I really need that flip up gesture that you can get. I would pay money for that. Velvet is a boy because then you can throw a whole bunch of assertions at it, and then you can ask it where are the
Oh
logical
right, yeah, okay,
inconsistencies
all
here.
right. So you're trying to this is the case where the data is not
It's
in
dirty
it's
data. Yeah,
well
yeah,
no hang on
yeah.
it's it's not one row per object. It's data. It's lots and lots of data about a, a number of objects, where the number of objects is less than the number of facts.
Right, right.
Right.
Which
And
is
you
why, you know,
right. Yeah.
so
Okay.
Velvet has got two things said about it. He's a
Right.
girl and he's a boy.
Right. Well,
Or he, she,
that's
whatever.
cool, but data doesn't usually come in like that. So like that's fun. and we can definitely handle that. But that's just choosing a
Uh,
different ingestion method.
I'll tell you the reason I'm saying that is that was way back when we were looking at Prolog. That was a big thing. But also recently, there are guys making $2 grand a day on trying to combine two databases where Mrs. Miggins is at 15, Widget Street,
Yeah,
and
right,
Mrs.
right.
Miggins at
So
17
reconciling,
Widget Street. Right, exactly.
reconciling.
And
Okay.
there's guys again super, pumped on, being rich.
Okay.
When
All right.
actually,
Well, we could do that with we could just include the deduplication step as part of the ingestion, where it's sort of
yeah,
yeah. I can
it's
I
logical
can see how to
inconsistencies. You
do.
can't you could say as a part of a definition, you can't be both a girl and a boy.
Yeah, I can
You have to choose which.
I can accept
I hope
that.
you're not recording this, otherwise we'll get.
I am recording it, but I don't think anyone's gonna care.
Sorry, all the gender neutral guys. I'm sorry about that. It was just an example.
Are you gonna apologize to the non-gender neutral people as well? I mean,
No, I don't give a shit about them.
well, that's rude. So it'd be great to get a example of a database merge that was occurring where these high fees were being charged, just to see if obviously this is a simplistic
I,
example. Do you think?
I can definitely get one. It would be a non-trivial database merge. We probably wouldn't get the database, but we would probably get a chance to talk to the person who's getting paid to merge the data.
Right, because that actually seems like the best way to do the whole thing. The schema, look, you could generate a JSON schema that was automatically derived, but
Uh,
in a way you sort of don't need to, just so long as you've got your definitions right.
right, and assertions. So there's no schema in any of this.
Nah,
All this is a bunch of assertions. 5572 asserts one thing. Five
right.
five six
The
asserts
schema
another.
is the natural language. Like it, these sentences make sense. Like
Yeah,
they do have, they do pass grammar tests.
right, right.
Okay.
Which is an easy thing to do when if you're ingesting. But
Mm.
the tricky thing is the real. There's a huge need for getting one database to talk to another one,
Oh
which is why
yeah.
these guys get paid like 2-3 grand a day.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
Hey, look,
and
give me
it's
just a second, please.
uh,
You're making me concerned. This is the routing covenant that handles allocating which customer belongs in which truck on which
okay,
day.
right? Yeah.
Now, what you got me wondering is that here's the API for interacting with this covenant.
Mm-hmm.
What here could be removed and just handled by a direct AI generated call?
Okay.
So, for example, there's a major test that occurs here, which is the this thing, which is a point and polygon test. So there's you
What is that
def
for the map? Is it?
yeah. So the areas that the truck services are defined as a rather large polygon that indicates a boundary for their service area.
Uh-huh.
The GPS coordinates of each customer are then translated, and you run the point and polygon test to be like, well, which truck does this belong to? And there's a bunch of sort of techniques in there to make it go faster. Like you first of all compute like a big set of squares, and then you're like, which square is it in? And then of that square, and you,
That sounds heavy lifting.
because
Mm,
otherwise point and
mm,
polygon can be heavy.
yeah,
Depending, right? Depending on lots of things like the number of points in your polygon, the number
yeah.
of polygons you
It's a
have.
2D map. We're not even looking at 3D going up a hill or anything.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, and then there's a deeper question, which is, at what point is the polygon overcapacity, and the boundaries of the polygon needs to be redefined.
Yeah,
So this,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
it's
And
it's a
how do you ask an algo to maximize your or minimize your routes based on
right,
the size of the
right.
polygons?
And then when a human does it, a human just sort of fiddles and then looks at the outcome and then goes, "Oh, that was bad," or "That was good." Like a human doesn't even really, strictly speaking, know how to do
No,
it.
there's no
They
way.
just sort of know how to fiddle with it constructively.
No,
Um,
it's a complex problem. That's why.
yeah,
And it would just be at the margins.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what I'm starting to wonder is that if all in so this no schema notion, at some point you're gonna need to call a calculator, like a point and polygon function,
Yeah.
but that
Oh.
doesn't need to be schema based. Like all this code here was kind of a pain because I had to test it and make sure it sort of, it makes it work right. It also puts this very high requirement on the quality of the data coming in has to be flawless, or the point and polygon test won't work. So,
Well, yeah. Yeah.
like, it requires that
Yeah.
all your
Yeah.
backing data be pristine before I
Yeah.
can run it. Whereas in this
Yeah.
other method, the data can stay dirty. Not that I'm a fan of that, but it can stay dirty and you can still process it partially. And a partial processing is better than no processing.
Ah. Oh, that's quite good.
So what I'm
That's quite
I'm also
good.
saying is that this code, this probably took maybe a week, maybe more, to do this iteration. There were also
You
several
could do.
iterations.
You could do fuzzy resolution as well. Okay, so let's take your example of um, lat long. Say,
Right,
let's forget the coordinates for a minute. So at lat long, Mrs. Miggins is in two positions at once because she's moved house,
right,
and we're trying to reconcile it. Um, the It would be okay. Well, it would be best to say Mrs. Miggins is in two positions at once, and so we need to find out where Mrs. Miggins actually is. But if the variance was relatively small, say if she was next door, then it could still handle a kind of fuzzy pickup.
right.
This used to be called fuzzy logic. I don't know if you're aware of that
Mm,
term, but fuzzy logic was how do you handle non-canonical data? How do you work out if what to do when the data is contradicting itself, but it's kind of close, but it's not really.
mm,
Typos are a good thing. So, say if someone's typed in their name and they've transposed two characters, that's fuzzy data. You know, we should be able to. Well, we can deal with that right now, but right up to quite important chunks of data, we shouldn't really care because let me think of this. Because if we have that reconciliation where it's pulling it out into assertions and it can look at where the assertions are largely inconsistent with itself, then it can also have an assessor type function where saying, do we really care? Is it that bad? Um, again, I'll give you an example. Hairdresser.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
got it.
got me. You got me. Yeah, yeah. So if it's close enough, then let's go with it and let's not bother anyone
This was
with it.
this was not what I meant at all.
Okay.
What I meant was that some of this computation can be done within the AI itself. So
Give me an example then.
yeah, I'll just
So
try find I'll try
we're
find
not.
you a good one. Hang on.
Although that fuzzy logic thing, we should talk about that at some point.
So okay, this function here is
Mm-hmm.
sector on date.
Okay.
This is an example of what could be considered lensing, where the sector
Mm-hmm.
represents the polygon. I've taken every polygon in the system and I've sequentially
Mm-hmm.
stepped it through this function is sector on date. Now, this may look like one line, but that's actually a bit of a pain because that involves dates. It's like, is this date within this set of dates with all these conditions? And then,
All right. Okay. So
right,
multi-dimensional kind of
yeah,
thing going on.
and then that gets annoying because then you've got public holidays. Public holidays get changed on occasion,
Yeah.
all these sorts of things. And so
Yeah.
you end up with a reasonably long function, which is maybe 20 lines, but
Mm-hmm.
that actually took a bit of fiddling to get that right.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like if you asked even the 3.5 model to do that calculation where it had a set of rules, you could
Mm-hmm.
probably it could probably do all right. It, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I'll try to show
Yeah.
you an example of how the tests work. So here you're just sort of running different example dates and confirming that the results were correct. So
Oh.
you could
All right.
certainly
Okay.
test the system's reliability by doing the same sorts of tests.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I'm getting at is that I could have excused myself from the hassle of writing that function, which means that this again could have been done on sales day, where you turn up and the
Right.
commissioner can figure out what to do there because I coded this based on a bunch of natural language rules that the people who own the company gave me and that I
Yeah.
got from them after asking more questions.
Yeah.
If we can just run the calculation using well structured, well tested natural language, I don't need to write that code, which may seem like a small thing, but all these little small things add up. Like that's maybe a
Well,
half day's coding there.
if the company in question presumably has data
They do,
um,
yeah,
about all this,
yeah,
they know what a sector is, they know what a date is,
yeah.
the
They have a
polygon,
dictionary.
all
They
of
have a
that.
dictionary.
They have a dictionary
Yeah,
and they have a data dump.
yeah, yeah.
And then we can ask questions directly of that,
Right.
so long as we're super clear about the dictionary and the data dump is. Well, data doesn't even need to be coherent, or
No.
sorry, it doesn't need to be correct, because it would be fairly trivial to run through given definitions saying where's your dodgy data, and I can run through there
Yeah. And then
and highlight that.
the only thing
Let's
we'd
see,
really
who's
need for
this?
sure is a way to double check the results somehow.
Yeah, let
Like
me think about that.
I don't know if the AIs are at a
It's
point where
the
you can actually trust their output in the same way that you
no.
can trust a calculator.
It's not. It's that old thing. Do you trust it with, your watch, your car, your house, or your life? It's like, oh,
I'm not sure I trust
God,
it with any of those
really?
things, but I guess my point is that I would, if I had nothing, or I had this system that looks like it works, at least I could start using the looks like it works system.
Well, the thing is, okay. So to step back out of AI enthusiast mode, which we're definitely in, and presenting some this in front of someone who's just got a job to do,
Mm.
does it improve? And how
Yeah,
fast does it improve?
well, it improves it because of the rate at which you can deliver a consumable application.
Yeah, but that's on day one. What they want to see, I think, is that thing we're talking about earlier on, which is I've tried to do this. Now, previously, they know it's a pain in the arse to go and ask IT department to do anything,
Right,
even changing your password.
right.
So they just give up
That's right.
and say, "Yeah, such is life." Um, if we could get the improvement loop down,
Yep,
um,
yep, yep.
then
Because
well,
what?
suddenly it's going to look like magic.
Right now, why it's better to leave the function in AI and to not ever try to bake it down in code
Yeah,
is that it becomes easy to repair or patch it using natural language
yeah,
inside of the stuck loop.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I don't really want to get into the situation where I have to patch software code. I'd much rather I have better things to do with my life. I'd rather be able to sit there and just explain what the fault is in natural language and have that be sufficient. Because I can
That,
see where it's gone wrong. I don't want to have to code it.
yeah. And if we, that implies that we push everything to natural language to the to an extent that we can. The data
There
we
will
can push to
definitely
natural
be
language.
you. Yeah, you have to. Yeah,
We kind of want to reduce the prompts and we reduce the baked code.
right. And then that would mean that my function call. See this function call is sector on date is
Yeah,
highly dependent on the structure of what a polygon is, this data inside of it, this concept of a
yeah.
common date and a run date. And if I could reduce that down to almost a library function, or like so, this would be removed, this block of code.
Well, what's
But
the intent of is sector on date? What are you asking?
I'm trying to figure out what is the schedule for the trucks today. I have today's date. I have the polygons. I have the dates that the trucks service a particular polygon, and I have the location of the customers, and I have the frequency of collections of each customer. The question is, what is the order of pickups for today, for what truck, and who gets charged what?
So how close are we just putting in that natural language question that you had? So there's a bunch of stuff
Um,
there,
fuck.
which if we reconcile to a bunch of assertions,
Yeah, fuck. Probably not far off, actually. Probably not far off.
it seems pretty close, doesn't it? Because you just described a whole bunch of stuff
Yeah,
in natural language.
right. Well, because that's how the commissioning of the system was given to me. It was natural language.
Right, right.
And
So we have natural language, you start, and then if we've got um, a
I
system that we can,
translated it into code. I translated their natural language requirements into code imperfectly,
yeah,
so sue me.
yeah, but even you could like if you were bothered, you could have natural language produce this code. But why produce the code?
That's the point. Yeah, that's the point. What a waste of time. Like, why make the code at all? Why not just stay in natural language?
Because it's just going to get better and better, probably exponentially, right?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, obviously, what you say is right, but it doesn't need to get any better, and you know, it's still not going to answer like how many carpets are velvet and in stock. How can you answer that better than correctly? You know, it doesn't.
Yeah, but if you just have a flat data system where you just got a bunch of assertions, we have
Right,
10 carpets,
right,
we have 9 carpets that are blue, we have
right.
8 carpets that are yellow. That is very easy for someone to go in. There are two things. It's very easy for an AI to go in and say, we just sold a carpet, so let's
Decrement.
decrement.
Yeah, yeah. We're going to take it down
Um,
by one.
there's
Yeah.
another. It's a very easy person for a stock checking guy to go in there and going, yep, 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 yep. Doesn't require any calls to the schema. Doesn't require any calls to IT. Doesn't require any code. That seems to be about as frictionless as you get without a brain implant.
Okay. So the
And
only the only thing we'd be relying on from the AI models is that they did their math correctly.
yeah,
Like minus one was always minus one,
I think yeah,
right?
yeah. We can. That example is like obvious, but I think
Because it
we
isn't
can give a
sometimes, right?
separate we can give a separate loop. And been
Yeah.
thinking a lot about using different models to check models. So
It'd be cool if you could get it to do it via a set of simple, like if you had a calculator, like a calculator function where you told it can't just update the text with minus one. It has to call the calculator to get the result back, and then
um, it, that would be really cool if it was a separate model entirely. That was the calculator, because otherwise you get into danger that if it doesn't know
no,
what minus
yeah,
one is,
no,
it's not going to be able to generate a calculator.
the calculator would just be a set of math functions that
Oh, kind of bake stuff. Ah, yeah,
yeah, it's like here's the
yeah.
calculator. You know, if you want to do any operations, you have to call the calculator like this.
It's getting. We could do that. But it's getting so close on some quite serious maths.
Okay, yeah, and we could just rely on the fact that the mathematical reliability of the models will only get better. And so if we've thoroughly tested it, it's probably the chance of us having a bug in like in this page of code, the chance that there's a bug is probably about the same as the chance that an AI would falter on some
Oh,
standard
yeah.
question, I'd say.
Yeah. You know what? Okay, so this is a new idea. Um, if I was a business owner and I was presented with something that's going to slash costs and improve output, but fucked up 99% of the time. Oh, sorry, 1% of the time.
Well,
And was fine
I mean,
99%
how
of the
often would you say a human staff member fucks up?
time. Well,
Better than
the uh,
1%?
the, the thing is, he's going to have to go to his chairman, or she's going to have to go to her chairman, and say, "Oh, I've put in this thing." People are adverse to changing stuff when, even if it's less um, efficient, they're more likely to stick with what they got. But I'm just wondering whether you could insure out that 1% by giving access and audit to an insurer.
Maybe.
Um,
I think what'll probably happen
there's
is if you can if you
some
can
ideas.
prototype the system using pure AI, then as we understand the heat map of the system and the usage that's moving through it, we can take some critical functions and turn them into conventional code for the sake of reliability. And I don't think you can get better than that.
No, yeah, no, I think you can, but not yet.
Well, it's out of our
I think you
hands
can
how that
go.
gets better, right?
Well, yeah, but I think even now you could go, uh, say if you're running a bot that was, oh, it's a cat. Can you hear that cat? Or is that being
I
forced
can't, no
out?
man, I can't hear anything.
Oh, that's really interesting, actually.
Yeah.
I think it must be directional. If you can insure out the risk of AI, I think that cost of insurance will be less than. actually having to deal with all the friction of people.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe that's a separate thing that you can deal with at some
It,
point.
it's a
It's
separate
not,
thing.
yeah.
It's just a thought.
All right.
I'm just throwing that in there.
S-
Right, but yes,
So what are we
code
saying
like
then? We're saying
this.
that we can go from natural language records to some form of natural language calculation, and then
Yeah.
on the hot paths turn that into code only once we know that it is on the hot path.
Yes, and the hot path really comes down to is it which model should be using most expensive, least expensive,
Right, you're
and
right.
then
So you first
simply
try to
rate.
get the system running, then you try to get it cost effective, and then you
Yeah,
try to get it reliable.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
um,
That sort of sounds. It
we
makes me
start.
uneasy, but it does sound like the way to go.
It does sound makes me uneasy as well because we're kind of throwing out
Well, we
everything
just
we've been
lost
doing for
something.
the
Like
last
it's
30 years.
it's almost like if I make this a pure AI function that executed only in the mind of a probabilistic model, how much would I trust it?
Hmm.
I guess I'd probably trust it more than some code I wrote, to be honest.
You know what? If we had the assessor testing using a completely different model,
It's so long as you can come at it from two
checking out.
ways. Yeah, if you can take the
Yeah,
result and then
you make a dual redundant,
reverse check,
right?
yeah, a dual redundant system. So one AI checks it, and then a different model, preferably from a
Yeah,
different vendor, compares the result. And only if the comparison works, then you're like, yeah,
right.
okay, go.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, I used to go on seriously fucking deep dives on dual redundancy. I was quite happy to, do that because you know that you had one rig and another rig, and
Yeah,
okay, so one's going to fail, but the likelihood of both failing unlikely.
it
Now
seems
the
it
only
seems possibly, yeah, it's almost impossible to have both those things fail.
yeah. Well, the biggest thing, or the most serious diving I was doing was with a rebreather, which had three O2 fuel cells,
Right.
saying how much O2 you're doing, and I had voting logic.
Yeah, look, I mean, at the end of the day, it's really just a truck delivery. Like two
Well, the
two
thing
steps
is,
is fine.
it's no, it's not truck delivery. It's someone's business, isn't it? But
Yeah,
if you
well,
to say,
I meant
if
that you
well,
could
oh,
you have the
here's the point.
ability to
Sorry.
correct it. It's not like it's an irreparable thing.
Yeah, 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 you do. But here's I guess the point I was trying to drive down. If we write this as much as possible in NL, then we can easily, trivially switch to another model. So why not, if it makes cost sense, run three and have voting logic so that the outlier is ruled out and the other two are
Oh,
averaged in.
like have some consensus.
Yeah,
Man, that's a scary
yeah,
thought. Okay, um, that's great. And then if we want to introduce a new model to a system that's running live, we could run it as just one member of the quorum, and
yeah,
then
because
only once its
exactly.
performance reaches a certain level, then we're like, yep, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How close to the consensus are you getting?
Right, because that is something I
And
notice in common with
no matter
all
how
of the
much we
AIs,
spend, uh,
is that they all it's all natural language. Like you sysprompt Gemini the same way that you sysprompt GPT-4, the
yeah,
same way that
yeah,
you sysprompt Beluga. Like they're all the same.
yeah, yeah. But under the hood, it's more complex
Yeah,
and brittle.
yeah. Okay.
So if we can get up to natural language, then we can drop in, we can do voting and so on. But also,
Oh man,
the most expensive thing of any business, well, most businesses, is people. People are fucking expensive.
people are bloody expensive and they fault all the
Uh,
time.
and no matter how much we rack up tokens, I bet we could not get this system
Well,
up to be more expensive
right. So
to be the same as what's already done.
you could buy enough local GPU. If you drop 10 grand on GPU, you could have a redundant system that could run locally that could provide these queries.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And then you could actually have the hot swapping of the models because if one model drifted, the other two would say, fuck off, we're
Right.
not considering it.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right. So that's if you
But if
need
it's
it.
in natural language, it's actually, we don't have to consider that.
Right.
We just say, this model, this model, this model, we all talk the same language. You guys talk together
Yeah,
and
that's
tell us
right.
if one guy has gone nuts.
That's absolutely right. Because here I am. Fuck, this is a little bit unnerving. So here I am in JavaScript. If I want to change languages, that's not easy. I also have this dependency on this library. I need to stay patched and up to date with this library.
Yep, and that's a call to IT when it doesn't happen.
Well, it's a new publication from the vendor that's also a software supply chain issue because
Yeah,
if I every time I do a patch, I honestly don't check all the code and no one I know does. So
yeah,
you could sneak whatever you liked in that package and I'd just be like, sorry mate, didn't have time to check it.
yeah,
You
yeah.
get
Because
this
when you
problem.
unpack it, if you unrolled all the, even on this application, if you unrolled all the imports, how many lines of code would that be?
It would be horrific. It actually is. It's probably about 20 megabytes of code all up without being.
And that's text, right? I mean,
Yes, yep, 20 megabytes of text. You
uh,
actually get this problem. This is where that package
that's
came
funny.
from, right?
That's funny.
But if it was all natural language, okay, sure, the LLM's like 40 gigabytes or whatever, but this disappears. This problem. This is a
It
significant
does.
problem.
It
This is
does.
a software supply chain issue. This is a reliability and update issue. This is all kinds of problems that are just not
Right.
there. Yes, you
Okay.
got some new problems. Like let's not be naive,
Oh,
but they seem like better problems.
yeah. This is very reminiscent of when I was doing the thing up in Dundee, um, and I was arguing because we had the opportunity of having uh, a router from one supplier and a router from another supplier. Another supplier was a lot cheaper, and I was arguing actually to go for both, but actually, really, what I was arguing for is to go for three and have some kind of consensus. So even if well, let's just call it out, the Huawei one turned out to have something weird happening about it, the other two could kick it out.
You wanted
So you
quorum
didn't,
and routing. That sounds.
yeah.
I've never heard of a system that could do. I mean, great idea, but I've never heard of such a system implemented.
Yeah, we got close, but it turned out that CEO didn't like it.
Okay.
But we got close, and there's a really smart guy up in Dundee who's up for it.
Man,
But
this is annoying. This seems like a much better way, but it's just a bit of a jump. It's a bit of a
wow,
jump to get there.
yeah, well, I've learned to embrace the queasiness of all this because we are on the edge of the singularity, and so everything's going to be changing probably for a year or two, and then
Okay.
it'll settle down again.
So what are you saying? You're saying that a blank slate system can be made using schemaless records that represent the knowledge of the enterprise as AI refined units of natural language,
Yep.
that
Yep.
queries are done by a lensing system that walks each record through an AI call that responds to that query and then reduces the results down to something meaningful.
Yep.
It's saying that certain core logic or business rules of the enterprise, such as is sector on date, can be computed as AI functions where the specification is given in natural language and the execution relies on a model with the possibility of quorum if we get that advanced,
Right.
but it avoids the need to have anything pulling in from node modules.
I think so. I think so.
And
Yeah.
then the business logic, which is often not well defined, can be patched by the humans as they learn more about the rules that they meant to tell you back at the start.
Well, the business logic would be red flagged if something weird happened by a lack of quorum. Is that
I was not
if you think
thinking about that. I was more thinking the most likely fault is that there's a fault in the rules themselves, not in the execution of those rules. Right? Like
yeah, but
it's easy to make
oh,
edge
I'm not talking.
cases.
Yeah, sorry. I'm not talking about the getting three different models. I was chunking down to this idea, which I think. So there's. Let me phrase this properly. This adoption is going to be usually you've got the early adopters who are willing to take more risks, and then as you get into the big chunk of the bell curve, you're going to have people who are taking less risks, but they're okay with that because someone else is taking the risk beforehand. Um, if you were to give your credit card over to your AI and say, just pay anyone that you think should be paid right now, you'd be going, what the fuck? No, I'm not doing that. I'm still going to go in there and I want something to click. If you had something that was concierged by an assessor that red flagged something that was odd, this dude in, Azerbaijan wants to buy a pawn subscription on your card, you okay with that? Then if it popped up, you could easily go, no, I'm not okay with that. So that is like the interim. Eventually, what we want is an AI saying, of course, you're not in Azerbaijan and you don't want a porn subscription, so I'm just going to block it. I'm not even going to bother you. So to start with, that kind of red flag identification of something that is abnormal based on what the patterns is new. That's well established technology. Banks already do that. It should be applied also to AIs. Whatever you're asking, that's weird. Are you sure? And you raise it. And at that point, you go back to Dave and go, hey, you're not in Azerbaijan. What are you
Mm,
doing buying porn?
yeah, okay. Um,
There's I'll work on that idea. That was poorly worded, but there is a thing where everything you're saying about if there's a flat data structure where the only interaction with that data structure was natural language
yeah,
that can query the data structure.
yeah,
The only uh, activities that you could have on that data were also in natural language. I think that's within reach.
right.
I think. I think. Hmm.
It seems within reach. It's just, is it doable in the time we have?
Well, let's take it back to.
Like, is it faster to do
Um,
it this way than the path we're currently on?
well, we've only got what 18 days left. 19 days
Well,
left.
let me ask you a different question then. Coming in from
Mm.
the other side, how does this model change the the goalie slash runner design that we're currently working on? I don't think it changes it at all.
Not at all. No, it doesn't touch that.
Okay, so the only thing that's changing is the way that we're handling the backing store and the business logic,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
it's changing it in a way that makes it more generic, as opposed to like it's less concerned about schemas. So the only real
yes.
difference that I would make then, because this is the customer's covenant,
Mm-hmm.
and why this had been a problem is this is the schema of what a customer is given in this file.
Mm-hmm.
That under the template here, this says all the properties and the schema of this customer, right? And what we're saying is that we're going to dump all this because JSON schema requires programming.
Yeah, and we're just going to have
We're going to
a
dump
flat
that, and
set of assertions.
we're going to have flat pseudo formatted text that any
Yeah,
human can read. Because if I rock into the trucking guys with a JSON schema object, they'll be like, "Mate, I don't know what you're talking about." Fair enough.
yeah,
But these are effectively what could be the equivalent of paper cards that hold the customer's information. It has some checks that run on it, so make sure it has some minimal data that we need, like does it have an email address, have we sent an email to that email address and got it back, all those types of things.
yeah.
And this is how the records are stored.
And if we get the dictionary right, and the dictionary will probably need something to do with state changes. I'm not sure yet. Because up to this point, we haven't talked about state changes. We talked about assertions of Karen has brown hair. Hair means this. Karen is a customer. We haven't talked about state changes.
Would it be better to oh no, no, I was going to suggest it might be better to keep schema under the hood, but just surface it as natural language, where in the background, the process of reconciliation is to use the schema and check it in the background, but the schema is much more malleable. Like the schema itself can be modified um, by the AI calls in a loop
Um,
where it's sort of like, how we were saying we wanted it to extract a pseudo schema where it
yeah,
looked at the records and sort of said, well, what's the template? What should the format look like? We could
yeah.
take that format and put it into JSON schema under the hood, so that was never really surfaced to the users, but it was used by us to maintain internal consistency.
Um, yeah,
Hi,
yeah. I don't know.
just kind of going backwards.
Yeah, it seems like by doing that, we're holding on to the old way of doing
Yeah, I
things.
know, because, well, what do I present in the state board then? The schema was what I used to know how to draw visual elements. If I don't have that, am I just presenting a markdown formatted file? Sort of.
Yeah, I mean, that would be reasonable enough. You could take an MD and like pretty it up and so on. Something here that's important. Um, I don't know.
And then, are you going to let the users edit that file directly and then reconcile it after they've pressed save?
What, the JSON or the
No, the,
data?
the plain text.
Yeah, the plain text, absolutely. Yeah,
They can go
there's
in
no
there and
point.
write anything they like, and then
Yeah, and then it's just a normal box standard RBAC, so you can do that. And then if we have the bot that looks for logical inconsistencies, a red flag would come up and saying you can't have Karen with red hair and brown hair at the same time,
Yeah, okay.
um, and you're logging everything. So that goes back into old style because it's just a file.
Oh god. Yeah, okay.
Um, yeah, I'm getting quite tired. I'm talking slowly, and I'll
Yeah, no
probably not give
worries.
me a good
All right.
read back.
Well, that was a reasonably troubling conversation.
Yeah, I suggest let's not change anything we do, and let's pick this up. And
Okay.
tomorrow night, I'm going to. What would be really useful if we can get past these rate limits, or not the rate limits, but the character limits. I can see
Yeah. Let me
we need
just
to do a bit more tests.
let me just think about that more. I'm sorry, I don't know how to solve it for you right now.
No worries.
Um,
Yeah.
I'll keep going with the goalie runner pair, but
Yeah.
this is this is troublesome. This thing. Um. Okay. Okay.
It's kind of excitingly cool, but
Mm,
I don't know whether it's the right thing to do yet.
uh, yeah, I don't know either. I'll keep thinking because it's a, a huge part of the artifact structure centered around JSON schema. So I need
Yeah.
to walk, work through all the consequences and make sure that the benefits still outweigh, because that's a huge change. That.
Yeah, it is. So let's not do it quickly, and definitely without. Let's not do anything without getting some large assertion-based flat files that are giving
Yeah,
information back.
but this is
Yeah, I like that. I like this
this is a
diagram.
worthwhile benefit, man. That is
Yeah,
a worthwhile benefit.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I shan't keep you then.
That's all right. So what is it? That's right, I have three here. So I'll probably be up for the next half hour
Okay.
on text, and then I'll see you roughly in uh, 16 hours thereabouts.
Maybe, maybe not. I gotta
Yeah.
run out to the airport tomorrow.
Oh yeah, no worries,
But
no worries.
yeah, I'll let you
I've
know.
got a lot to think about here as well. So
Yeah.
either way, tomorrow night my time
Okay.
at some point,
All right.
and I think we're onto something. I really do think we're onto something.
Yep. Uh, definitely are. It's just what to do about it.
Yeah, yeah. Right. I'll
Okay.
see you tomorrow.
See you later.
Thanks, man. Yeah.